Hello, hello. Good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? Don, I see you on the treadmill. Let's do it. All right. So, what we were originally going to talk about was, I believe, Jorge's topic. He wanted to talk about how much stuff could he fit in his space so he knows how to plan and what size store to have. But I don't see Jorge in attendance. So, if that was Jorge, and if you are here, please circle back. And when we talked on Thursday, I said, okay, come on Monday. You'll be here, right? Yeah, I'll be here. So I had all this stuff prepared, and Jorge is not even in the building. So Jorge is going to snooze. He's going to lose today. So we are going to go in a different direction. And all of my preparedness is going to get deleted until, I guess, next time. Jorge, you're here. Jorge. Are you in the building?
Morning, yeah.
You remember last week we talked and we were going to go over something on Monday? The spaces, remember?
Spaces?
Yeah, you said how much stuff can you fit inside of your space?
I don't.
Uh,
I
No
can't
problem.
recall.
We're going to go ahead with it anyways. I remember, so that's all that matters. All right. So the question was, how much stuff can I fit in my space? I'm not quite sure. I'm not set up correctly. I don't know how I can, I guess, make decisions because I don't know what I could do with the space that I have. So this is an exercise that we did in the $100,000 call. And I pulled up some fine examples. Some of them are fine. Some of them are where they're crayon, and both of those are fine. So a lot of people who did the exercise, I guess their biggest eye-opening thing was that they didn't know that if it was configured the correct way, that they could fit way more stuff. And LC was one of the ones who made the biggest improvement once he put it onto paper. And he was already set, ready to move to another location. He put it on paper, he reconfigured it, and then he was able to fit like 50 or 60% more items inside of the same space. So I have a couple of them pulled up. We're going to start with this one. This one is Hanley's. I'm going to use it as an example, and then maybe Hanley can chat a little bit. So what we have to do is we have to get the dimensions of our workspace, and she was smart enough to do it, or kind enough to do it in meters and feet for dumb Americans. So we have it in meters, and we also have it in feet. So we have the diameter or the perimeter of our room. And then what we have to do is we need to measure our, I guess, spaces. So like she has a door, 3.1 meters. Another door, 3.1 meters. She has a mezzanine that she has measured out and drawn on. She has a photo station that she has measured, an office desk that she has measured. Here's her packing. Here's new space. Here's doors. Beautiful. Here are the shelves. And what we have to do is we have to measure our shelves or totes, whatever sort of vessel we are using to hold our inventory, hold our items. We have to measure those. And then we need to measure the allowable space that we have for those items. And then we need to see how many items fit inside of the vessel. So if the vessel we have is one tote and we can fit 10 items into one tote, if we could fit 10 totes on this shelf, that would be 10 totes times 10 times 10. So we would know how many items we could fit into here. And then if you have an actual shelf and not just a row, let's say you could stack 5 totes that you could fit 10 items each. So that would be 50 items per column. And then you can make 10 columns. That would be 500 items that you could fit on this section right here. Same thing if you had a shelf. If you had a shelf and each box that you had held 10 items, you have, just for round numbers, you have 10 shelves vertical. It would be 10 items times 10. That would be 100 items in every vertical column. And then if your shelf could hold 10, that would be 1,000 items that could fit right here. So just as an example, it would be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It would be 11,000 items that Hanley can fit right here, doing one vessel times the column vertically, and then times the distance that she has. Now, let's say she's running out of space and she has a good sized process area. She could double this shelf. She comes out to here. She could double this shelf, and now she has a smaller workspace, but now she could fit 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 4,000 more items in this space, just as the example that we are going on. If she wanted to make her processing area a little smaller, then she could fit 6,000 more items. And now that she has 11,000 items here, that would bring her to 17,000 items. Full max capacity, probably a little bit uncomfortable, but at least now she knows, okay, when I get to 11,000 items, if I don't want to extend this, then it's time for me to go shopping for a new space. And for most people, they set up their space where the stock comes in here. Maybe they prep it in this room, photograph, list, and then it gets put away. So it's kind of circular in motion. So Hanley, you set up your warehouse. We don't have to go into specifics, but how did drawing it down help you when you did the exercise?
I'm so chuffed because after this weekend, it actually looks like that. So we've done it exactly like that. And that drawing helped us because we were looking at a bigger unit. And then that drawing helped us realize that we didn't need a bigger unit and we could save that money. And we've actually set it up just like that. So going in and having a plan, if I had done the stock properly, it made it so much easier. And we've got that mezzanine is going to extend all over the whole thing. So then we'll have the top half for stock as well.
Oh, wow. So you're going to make a second floor?
Yeah. So they've just delivered the planks. So the landlord is actually building the mezzanine over the whole thing.
Wow.
So then I'll have the whole top as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that's right. So you were going to get a much bigger space that costs much more money.
Yes.
Then we drew it down, and then you notice that you can save a bunch of money and stay here for something like a couple of years, right?
So 8 years.
Okay.
If nothing changes, I would only outgrow that unit in 8 years. And that was only before I started doing better. So now it'll be longer because I'm selling more, selling better. So yeah. So basically we figured out that I didn't need to spend the money and I could just, that would be more than enough space, especially with the second floor. That will give me at least another 5-6 years on top of that.
Sure. All right. So that's the next question. How do you figure out, or how do you know that this space can give you another 8 to 10 years? How did you figure that out?
So I took the amount of items I listed and the amount of items I sold, and I got my sell-through rate. And I worked out by how many items my store is growing every week, which means I'll have to store that amount of additional items per week. Then I took the total amount of items this place can hold, divided it by the amount of items I can hold per week, which gave me the amount of weeks I have in the unit, and then divided by 12, which gave me years. Beautiful.
So let's say she has filled up, again, for an example, these only hold 1,000. It's probably much more. Let's say she moves into this unit and she's right here. She's 4,000 out of 11,000. And if she nets 10 items per day, just for simplicity, meaning list 20, sells 10. So she lists 20 every single day. 20 times 365 is 7,300 items, but she's going to sell 10 per day. So she's going to sell 3,650. So every single year, she's going to store 3,650 items. So she has 4,000 now. So 4,000 plus 3,650 is going to be 7,650. So she's at 4,000 now, right here. 5,000, 6,000, 7,650 after 1 year. And this is just an example of numbers. After 1 year, and she'll have up to 11,000. So if nothing changed, if the sell-through remained the same, she would outgrow this space in 2 years. Now, in reality, how many are you netting per day in reality?
9.
9, there you go. Okay, so it's the same, pretty much the same math if we were gonna do the same example, but these shelves can hold much more than 1,000 items, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if she's netting 9 per day, that would be 3,285 items, probably one shelf or half a shelf. Do you remember how many you could fit on one shelf?
Sorry?
Do you remember how many items go on one shelf?
I don't have it where I wrote it down, but this area, the way it's set up there, would have given me a 20,000 item store.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 20,000 divided by 11. So 1,818 items roughly can go per shelf.
Yeah.
And you are netting 9 a day. That's 32. So every single year, 3285 you are netting. We're going to divide that by 1818. So 1.8 years is going to be 2 of these shelves. So you got almost 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, like you said, 11 years of stock here, but you moved in with a little bit of stock.
Yeah.
So the numbers make sense. The numbers add up. Beautiful. All right. Very good. What was over here? Oh, these were your job lots, right?
No, that's my husband's secondhand stuff, but that
Gotcha.
boy's card, but that's gonna be sold out. I'm just giving him like a year or so to work through it, and then those shelving bays are gonna go across to that side as well. So we'll have a row down there too.
So you're going to have rows on the side?
Yes. And then you
Nice.
see that roller door there is where the stock's going to come in on the pallets into the process area. From the process area, they go in to get photoed and then into the inventory. And then obviously packing and out the door. But so it's kind of a circle, just not.
It's okay. I mean, we have to do the best that we can
Yeah.
circular. So this is where the job lots go.
Yeah, so that's where because I'm doing quite a lot of wholesale now. So basically, as in the process area, what's not going in to get photos goes straight to that door there, job lot area, and that just gets taken out with a pallet truck wherever it's going.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Very good. And this could be done on a little space. This could be done on a large space. So Jared said, how tall will it be up top? I'm working on mine. It is really short. And Haley says she will find out. Thank you. Chantel, do you then have to be careful with the items you source? I assume you don't source the car parts that take up the most space. And you said that the bigger items go on the side mezzanine for now. Very good. And Neil said, is there an aged inventory consideration in the math that you have, Hanley?
Yes, there's also a consolidation plan as well. So I'm not going to carry stock over a certain period. They're going to go on age inventory. If they don't sell, they're going into the job lot area and they're just going to get moved that way.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Henley. All right, next one we have is Stephen Cooper. And this was his space. Again, he has the dimensions written out, 21 by 35. He has his listing decks, which is 46 inches. His pictures, which is 96 inches. His queue, he has allowed 48 inches. He has a washer and dryer. We have the shipping area, shipping supplies. Here is his hat setup. It's 2 36-inch sections, 2 side racks that are 60-inch each. Got a bathroom down here. And then he has all these shelves, which are 60 inches each. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shelves times 60 inches. divided by 12. So he has 30 feet of shelves per row. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. So 30 times 4, he has 120 feet of shelving right here. And he's got another one back here too. So we're just going to go for these right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 120 feet of shelves. And what has it been? 2 feet wide. So he could fit 60 bins, and then he could probably stack them 5 tall or so. So that's 300 bins that could go in here. And if he could fit 20 items per bin, that's 6,000 items that could go right here. And then he has all of this space available if he wished to do anything further. And that's probably a conservative effort on how much he can actually store there in that space. But that's pretty much how you do it. You figure out the space you have, the space that's taken away by, I guess, hard items that aren't going anywhere. And then from here, you need to figure out your shelving, and you need to figure out your vessel on how you store. If you just store on the shelf, then the shelf is your vessel. Depending on how many racks are on the shelf, that's how high you could go up. Now, if Cooper would add an extra shelf and go 6 high, he would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 extra shelves. He would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 24.
If it doesn't work for you, you'll have to wait for Michael to come later.
He would have 24 extra shelves. 6 store 20 items per. He would be able to store roughly 1,000 more items by adding 1 more shelf to his area. So that's just another example. Another example we have. These shelves are 77 by 72 high. So they're 77 in length, 72 in height. Holds 35 24 by 10 by 10 boxes. So each shelf holds 35 boxes. One box will hold 12 to 15 items. So we could take an average. 12 plus 15 is 27 divided by 2. Holds 13.5 items per box. So if it's 13.5 items per box, how many items can his shelf hold? Someone give me the answer. 13.5 items per box. Each shelf holds 35 boxes. How many items can one shelf hold? Who's got it?
473.
Thank you, sir. So we do how many items can a box hold? How many boxes can your shelf hold? And we multiply those two together. So we have 35 items, or 13.5 items per box. 13.5 times 35 boxes, 472.5 items per shelf. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we do 472.5 times 7, and they could hold 3,307 items on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shelves that they have. They also have a coats and hangers jacket, or a coats and hangers rack. They got the bathroom. This is the listing station, photo station, the queue, dryer, washer, sorting area. They have their USPS baskets. They have their shipping station, supplies, and the 2 hats. And he's got a couple notes here, and that's where he's at. So he went from this setup, which will hold roughly 3,307 items, to the setup that I showed previously, which is going to hold much, much more. All right, next one. We have Jared. Jared's going through a full revamp currently. He has some pallet racking. He's got 2 doors, tool in a workshop area because he does cars. More pallet rack. Added on this inventory area for media that's 15 by 15. More racking, lower area for cutting the rulers. Here's another door. And he measured his space 60 feet. This one is 20 feet. And the whole shop is 40 by 60. So he's figured out how many items can go on his pallet racking, how many pallet racks he's going to need, all of that good stuff. So you could do this with a large space. You could do this with a small space. Doesn't matter. Here's Rachel. I think Rachel is here, but she has her space. And Rachel had a couple different spaces, and then she was able to reconfigure her space and kind of get the best usage out of it. So this is 21 feet, 13.5 feet, 10.2, 66 inches, 25 inches. All right. Oh, it's 211 inches. So sorry, not 21 feet. That would be a massive space in your house, Rachel. All right, hanging. We got a shelf. Shelf holds 25 boxes, 675 items per shelf. So you have 1, 2, 3. You've got a cart, packing and shipping area. There's a counter, and that's one portion. And then here was the space. And then this is the reconfigure of the space where all this other stuff is added, and you found a bunch more storage space available. So I have a bunch of these. This is what we did on the 100K call, I think for 2 weeks. And we went through everyone's space and tried to find the best uses of the space. There's someone here. They've got the shelving, washer and dryer, 200 inches. Got the bathroom. Shipping and packing is 60 by 30. And then they figured out down here how many items that they can hold. 675 items per shelf. 275 items per shelf if they're doing shoes. They net approximately 60 items per month. They're going to reduce the shipping station size. Currently have 3 shelves with 1,650 items. The max capacity is between 5,825 and 6,500. Somewhere between 5.5 and almost 7 years. So here's their shelves, setup, bathroom, all the good stuff. So now this person knows they can stay in the same space. If everything remains the same of netting 60 items per month, they can stay in the same space for between 5.5 and 6.7 years, which is very good to know. All right. That's Rachel's new space. Very good. Thank you. All right. So does anyone have questions about that?
I got one question.
Let's hear it, Max.
So to do the opposite, if you're planning on getting a space, you would do all the math for the items, see what you net ahead of time, see what you have, and then try to pick the space through the amount of time you think you would do it, or how would that kind of work? I think you're muted. I'm not sure if it's me.
Jack, you're muted.
No problem. I guess it's the amount of time, and it's also the best bang for the buck, because I mean, to jump out and get like 10 years worth of space might not be affordable right now. So you might have to move a time or two before you can get into that year's worth of space, extra space time. So I moved a lot of times. I moved from pile in the corner to tote of pile in the corner, took over my whole house, got a storage unit, got another storage unit, got another storage unit, worked out of a duplex, got a big house that I figured I could stay in here for a long time. Didn't work out quite like that because I increased my listing goal. Got a 1,200 square foot warehouse. Got a 2,500, 3,000 square foot warehouse. Got 2 of those, got 3 of those. And that's where I am today. So like the plan works great if nothing changes. But with Hanley's plan, if she increases her listing goal and the sell through doesn't remain the same, then her timeline also gets shortened. So for Max, it's kind of two fronts. It's what's the best bang for the buck that you can afford right now, and try to get the most longevity inside of the best bang for the buck that you can afford right now. Marcus,
Can you hear me?
got you.
All right, cool. Driving. As far as, can it be like, what if it's, I got split rooms? So one is gonna be like a processing room, and then the other is the storage. So I just do the same thing for both rooms, break it down with the measurements and everything, and what I can fit in the room. Because
Yeah.
I'm moving right now, so I'm gonna move out of my storage unit. I got a 10 by 10. I paid $300 for it, but we're moving into like a little house situation. So now I'm gonna get it like a shed because we don't have a garage. I'm gonna put the shed in the backyard part, another 10 by 10, and then I'll have an office area where I can process, do the photo station and all that stuff. And I never had an office, so I'm gonna, do the office with the photo processing, and then I have a little bit of storage in there. I'm just trying to figure it out how to work it all out and all these calculations that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, and a lot of people that did the exercise, they have more than one space. Rachel has more than one space where she has a couple of different rooms inside of her house, and you just have to draw them out separately. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem. And if you're going to draw yours out, whoever's going to draw theirs out today, let's talk about those tomorrow. If you take the time to draw it out, I want to take the time to look at it. So whoever going to draw out their space, what we need to figure out, this is the homework for those folks that want to do that. We need to figure out how many items fit in our vessels, box, tote, shelf on a rack. How many items fit into the vessel? How many items fit into the shelf or into your column? How many shelves or columns can you have? And then how many rows of shelf or columns can you have? And that's your max capacity for where you're at today. And then figure out how many items in your store you are netting. Does everyone understand where we're getting that number from? How many items in our store are we netting per day? Which means if you list 10, you sell 8, you are netting 2 items per day. 2 items per day times 30 days would be a net 60 items per month. Net 720 items per year. How many items are you netting? And then how much space are you currently using? How much theoretical space did you find out you have on your diagram? And the distance between where you are currently and the end point of your diagram where you run out, how many items is that? And then divide that by your net number of items per day. In this example is 60. So if you draw your space and you see you have 600 slots left and you're netting 60 per month, you have 10 months before you run out of space. Everyone got that? Wrote that down, or need me to go over it again if you choose to go through this experiment and exercise? And I would love to go through it with people tomorrow who choose to do it. Does everyone have all of those? Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, for the breakdown of the sold, what if I sold 97 and I list 105? Can you do it by week or?
Well, ideally you want to open up the sales tab and it tells you how many items you sold this month or 2 months or 3 months. and figure out how many items you listed in the last month or the last 3 months. And you want to expand it out as far as possible, because if last week, small sample size of 7 days, you could have had a grand slam of a week, it's going to give you false data. You could also have the slow week, and it's also going to give you false data. So when we're working on averages, we need to try to scoot back a little bit of ways, not look at a very small time frame. Make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Any questions for those folks who want to draw out their space and go over it tomorrow? Anything that needs to be clarified? Clarifying questions? And Nina picked up on that real quick. When I ask clarifying questions, usually on goals, that's me putting the feet to the fire. I'm clarifying that you are going to do these things. So any clarifying questions for tomorrow? Definitions, things you don't understand, happy to answer those. All right, very good. Does anyone have any more questions on space? Anything they would like to discuss? Very good. All right, so the
I have a
next
question.
Go ahead,
I-
Jose.
I have a question, but I think based on what we were just talking about is advanced. So now, if you happen to be on grow mode, meaning that you just figured out that you're selling, that your current budget is $150 a week, and you have to go, $150 a week, and now you have to go to like 221, and you figure out that for the next 90 days, you're gonna need to spend about $2,300 or 23 to 2,500, and based on that, you got a space, right? Now, you're not quite where you're gonna be. And so everything applies the same way to that?
Define
Did I
not quite where
confuse you?
you need to be.
Meaning that, so right now, if, for example, I'm listing 2 a day, right? But I'm going to 3 a day. I'm just figuring out ahead of time the money that I need in order to get to that amount, so I will not break my bank. So I won't spend way more than I'm making. My storage unit, right? My storage unit is, I'm gonna definitely have out of the 15 by 10, I'm gonna have 10 by 10. So it's kind of like when I'm growing, do I do the numbers the exact same way? Because like right now I'm like an interesting is nothing, right? Because I'm listing 2, I'm selling 2, but I'm going to 3. So I just kind of like, I don't want to spend myself out of money, but I also want to have the proper space for growth. So the number will be the same, correct?
So how much are you spending on inventory per day? You're listing 2 a day?
Yeah, no, right now my weekly expenditure on inventory is between 140 and 150. My amount I've been getting 14 items a week with a queue of 14, but I'm stepping up to 21 with a queue of 21. So it'll be like about 42 items that I will have at all times because I'm ahead.
All right, so slow down. So you spend between 140 and 150 per week, right? So the average of that is 145, correct?
Right.
Okay. You're buying 14 or 28 items per week?
No, I'm either right now. Before this just started like last week. So before this, I was only buying exactly what I needed, which was 14 items a week. That's it. And my average cost.
Hold on.
Sorry.
So if you are buying 14 items a week and you're spending 145 per week, that comes out to $10.35 per item.
Right, and that 145 per week is not exact because sometimes it will be lower, but sometimes I'm buying things that are a little more, and you get some home runs in there. So it's kind of like the average that
we can make an exact number though. If you go back 8 weeks, you know for the last 8 weeks you've spent this much money on average.
Got it. Okay. All right.
So is your average cost of goods $10.35?
Yes, we could go with that.
Okay. What is the average sale price?
Last time I checked, if when I went by the number, it was 36 something, and the average cost was less. The average cost was $7.30 something cents. That's what it came out of, based on my 90 days. I don't like to ask you these questions when I don't have exact numbers.
Gotcha.
I'm out. So sorry,
So
I don't
are
want to
you
throw people
gonna
off.
draw your space tonight and be ready for tomorrow?
Unfortunately, I have to do my full-time job at the time that we'll be in this call, and I can't, but I will do it. I'm gonna
Okay.
draw it, and I just post it on Facebook, I guess, so you could see
Excellent.
it.
All right. So when you have that and you have all the exact numbers, then we can get it figured out, because for right now it's just speculation.
I know. I'm sorry. I just had this question. All right, my bad. I get off.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Anybody else have any questions concerning this topic about space? How much they can hold, how long they could stay, anything about that?
Hey, Tech, I had a quick question.
Please, thank you.
When in your warehouse, did you do calculations on profit per square foot area over a 6-month period of time based off of your sell-through? I'm looking at 15,000 in cost per 45,000 profit every 6 months per storage unit, and you know, it sounds like it's good, but I'm trying to do the analysis of, is it really good?
Okay. All right. So I spend roughly 7,000 a month now, times 12. So I spend $84,000 a year on warehouse. When I was rocking and rolling, it was a little bit over 2 million. So 2.2. And it's like roughly 10,000 square feet for round numbers. So 84,000 divided by 10,000. So that's $84 a square foot. And then so that was 26,190 per square foot, but also not all of it was dedicated warehouse space. I had a good chunk of it where the workers stayed. So that's just global per square foot. Warehouse space, I can add that up if that will make it better for you. Are you strictly going warehouse space or?
Yeah, this is just warehouse space, but that's okay. I'm just trying to get an idea of what I guess a bar level.
No problem. So let's go with 7,500 square feet for warehouse. Figure 2,500 square feet was for the workers. So we had 84,000 total that I spent per year, 7,500, that's 11.2. Is that right? 196,000, is that right? Let me see. All right, 84,000 divided by 7,500 for the warehouse. That brings it to 11.2. And then 2.2 million divided by 11.2 will be 196,000 for warehouse space.
Okay.
So I guess you have the numbers, you've seen the video, you've seen pretty much everything that's inside the warehouse. I guess you could probably work backwards and figure out whatever type of number you're looking for, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
I'm just trying to decide if I'm putting enough inventory in per square foot from a profit perspective. I get 4,500 items in a 10 by 20 at $1,500 every 6 months. So
also the sell-through has to be calculated, because if you could park a lot of cars inside of that garage, you're doing much better.
right, yeah, absolutely.
If they're just sitting there for 1 year, then it's going to be way lower.
Yeah. Okay.
So
All right.
that's probably, so the reason why my number is like that is because I'm turning every 6 months at that point. And I was
Yeah.
listing at such a high velocity, 250 items per day. So I was putting in 250, getting out 250 every single day, turning at that kind of velocity.
Yep. I don't think I'm quite there at that velocity in terms of 6 months, but understood.
But that, exactly. So just to explain, that's going to be the difference. If you are 50 in and 50 out, the number is going to be higher per square foot. Where I was 250 and 250 out. Now, if I could go to 500 and 500 out in the same space, my number would be 400,000. So yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So it
Thanks,
was
sir.
the velocity leaving per day, which makes that number go up. And I was able to replace that per day, which kept it the same for a long period of time. Now, if I can't replace it per day and I have a lot coming out every day, then it's going to start to go down.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any more warehouse questions?
Yes.
that-
Hi, Ted. Good morning. It's Nick
Okay.
from Goodbye Darling. I'm in that process of growth. I've been in my storage unit facility for about 4 years now. I started in a 10 by 10, moved to a 10 by 20. Now I'm in a 10 by 30. The next step up, I know I put this in the group because they keep, jacking my rates every 6 months. Like it's gone up 40% now since January.
Mhm.
So I was just wondering, I know a lot of us do profit first. What percentage should we be looking at to spend on storage, in the light of I can't really do even a small warehouse in my neighborhood in Chicago is like minimum 3,000 a month for like 2,000 square feet. Cause I've been looking and my storage units, a little bit more affordable than that. But, over the next year, I know I'm going to have to move again. And I've already moved 4 times since I've started this. So I don't know. I'm wondering what percentage do you look at? Obviously I'm not making 2.2 million a year.
That's
I'm
okay.
Low 6 figures. I just don't know. I don't want to stretch myself, but all these leases are month to month. So I guess what percentage should we be looking at to spend on, warehouse space and utilities and whatnot if we were to.
So the answer is as low as possible to get what we need. So even though I was spending $84,000 a year on warehouse, huge number, big number. And I hate writing that check every single month of $7,000 per month. That was only 3.8% of the sales every single year was 84,000.
Right.
So it seems like a huge number, but when you counter that with how much it was producing, it was only 3.8%. So it's the same thing. If you are doing 100,000 a year, and how much is the new space? Because I remember we did the math and it was like $7.86 extra per day, right?
Yeah, the bigger space would be $770 a month, and
Great.
then
All right, hold on, slow.
30.
So if you're doing 100,000 per year, at $770 per month times 12, that's 9,240 per year. And if you're selling 100,000, you're at 9.24% of gross sales going into warehouse and storage costs.
Yeah, and that's not much at all, especially when you think of like a family budget. They say try not to spend more than 30% of your gross on housing. So I was kind of thinking that. I didn't want to go that high, but I also, I don't know.
But also when we thought about it and we did the math, and it's a big number of increase, but it's $7.68 per day.
Right, which is nothing. Yeah, when you
can
look at
overcome that on a daily basis.
Right.
So it goes back to what we were talking about with Tim. If your space is, all right, 9,000, what was it? 9,240 per year. If you sell 9,240 items per year, it costs you $1 per year to warehouse those items.
Right.
Now, if you sell 20,000 items per year, 9,240 divided by 20,000 items, now it costs you 46 cents each to warehouse those items. If you sell 30,000 items per year, now it costs you 30 cents each to warehouse those items. And 30,000 items seems like, a lot of items. But as you bring it down, your costs go down per item stored. So it's about turning the items, turning the velocity of the sell-through brings all of your costs down. So now you have the same fixed cost of 9,240, but instead of selling 9,240 items, if we sell 20,000 items a year, and these are just round numbers,
Right.
at your average sale price is going to go up proportional. So if you had an average sale price of, I don't know, $25, that's $500,000 a year. And now your cost of 9,240 is no longer 9%. Now that's gone down by 5 times. And now it's like 1.8% of your gross sales per year. So your sales by going up, your velocity, your sell-through by parking more cars in the same parking spots, i.e. your warehouse, by turning the items as fast as possible, that will bring down the percent compared to your net sales per year. So you went from 9.2% of net sales to more velocity, and now it's 1.8% because you're doing 5 times more sales in the allotted space. So even if it's 2 times more sales, now it goes down to 4.6% of your net sales per year, which is a huge difference.
Right. Well, I'll keep you guys posted over the next couple of years. We'll see how this goes.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to lock it in too. And I found out if I pay a year in advance, they won't jack up my rates. So I think I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah, that's the move if you can afford it, for sure.
Yeah. I have a line of credit that I could use and then just pay that off slowly. I guess it's still better than them increasing by 40%, over the course of the year. So
yeah, that's tough.
But
Yeah. So right now it's 9.2. If you were able to increase your sell-through, then it goes down to 6. But like that 3% decrease is not even going to be close to the increased sell-through and the amount of profit that you're going to get by increasing the sell-through. Then it becomes like a rounding error.
Yeah. And I've been really meticulous on sell-through. My numbers have gone up quite a bit in the past, even 30 days. So much more conscientious of what I'm taking on consignment and what I'm sourcing too. So
Excellent.
Thank you.
Because when I did this exercise and I was like, man, I'm paying $7,000 a month. Like that's crazy. And then I did the exercise and saw that 84,000 was 3% per year.
Right.
Didn't even matter anymore.
It's negligible. It's a small amount. Yeah. Even 10% compared to, what my mortgage and taxes are here. That's why it's like, I bought it a good time in Chicago, like for residential. So to look at like what I have to pay commercially, it's sickening right now. So
sure.
Even storage units around here, it's pretty high. So, all right, cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. Any more questions? We got 11 minutes left. Questions about warehousing and storage. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, check.
Hello.
So I got a question about I had a friend that had $1,200 a year in a month in storage unit, and I said to him, why don't you just buy a small house? Have you heard of people doing that? Is there problems with doing that?
Yes and no. So I've done that. I bought a duplex to work out of. Was great. I also bought a really big house to work out of. That was great. Now I just have a really big house with no furniture and it's empty. So I have that part. The second part of it is when you buy a dwelling in most municipalities, it's difficult to use a residential dwelling 100% for business. So there are some legalities that you have to check up on or look after. So if you buy another house, let's say the mortgage is $1,000 and it's 100% business, and you go home to your regular house, I think technically speaking, you can run into some trouble with your city, state, or township. So I would look into the legalities of that. If it's allowed, could be an option. If it is not allowed, then that's that.
Do you think that there could also be problems with homeowners insurance, that you're not
Sure.
there's nobody on the premise?
Sure. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of problems that you would have to do the investigation first before I guess you took that leap, but it is an option. Maybe you live in the sticks somewhere and no one cares, then go ahead. But if you live in a city or something, definitely check. All right. Thank you, sir. Over to Eric.
Morning. Speaking to Carl's question, I have met people who buy commercially zoned plots of land and park shipping containers on it, and I've seen that at least twice.
I hate touchpads. Why don't they?
All right. Can you repeat that one more time, Eric? About
Yes.
storage
So
unit or container?
to Carl's question, I have seen wrecking yards purchase commercially zoned land, just a fence with a piece of dirt and maybe a water spigot and a power meter, and put shipping containers or semi-truck. I know it's extreme, but semi-truck boxes. I don't know what they're called. What's the name of the box that a semi-truck pulls? The container. Anyway, that they put those there.
Yeah.
And they rig up lights and they have a water station, and then you have the commercially zoned storage unit that you're paying a mortgage on and you own. And if you decide that you don't want the shipping containers anymore, you just get rid of them. You don't have to build a building. There's no permit. And in fact, up in Northern California, there is a Cadillac only wrecking yard. They do vintage Cadillac. And he even said building a building would be a permitting, planning commission, blah, 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 nightmare. So he just has like 50 shipping containers. And there's the trim container, the engine container, the transmission container. And that's how he's been working for 40 years. So that's possible.
Absolutely. So if you're going to go that route, again, you got to check with the code, everything involved with the city before you buy a bunch of those and they tell you it's not allowed. Also, if you are going to get a storage unit, a shed, there's two different classifications. They have permanent structures and non-permanent structures. A permanent structure is obviously permanent, it's fixed. A shed is a non-permanent structure. It might be on center blocks above the ground. It might be strapped. There are different classifications. There's also different tax classifications. If you do a permanent structure, you have to do depreciation, 27.5 years. If you do a non-permanent structure, they have what's called bonus depreciation. And last year, bonus depreciation was 100%, where if you spent $10,000 on a non-permanent structure shed, you would be able to write off a 100% against the taxes because it was non-permanent. This year, bonus depreciation has dropped down to 80%, but I would speak to a tax accountant or a CPA and see what qualifies for you. But that could be an option. Check out bonus depreciation for non-permanent. And it's getting towards the end of the year, so maybe you have a liability that you could offset with bonus depreciation of a non-permanent structure. I would talk to a CPA or talk to an accountant and have them guide you the best way. All right. Anybody else?
Tech, one more comment that I have also seen for anybody with a property that would support it is literally buying a U-Haul van, a box truck, and parking it at your property. As long as you don't have any neighbors who are going to be looking at it. I mean, they are a full 27-foot box that's tall. You can walk into them. There's a ramp and everything. And then if it ever becomes a problem, just get in and drive it away, move it.
Thank you. And here is just a link to the current law 2023 bonus depreciation. Again, has dropped to 80%, but read up on it if that's something that you may be interested in, and then contact the CPA. And someone asks, is there a goals due 12/1 post in the Facebook group? There absolutely is. Maybe I'll pin that one to the top. What do you guys think? Pin the goal post to the top or keep it how it is? And I went back
please,
through.
pin to the top.
Okay, thank you, sir. And because Max said it, we'll do it. I went through last week's goal post Saturday and Sunday, checked in on everybody for the most part. People did very well, so I'm happy to see that. And I will pin the new goal post to the top immediately following this call. And then I will tag you on that post. Dance. All right, Karen, wrap us up. Take us home. What do you got?
Okay, so I asked a question in the chat, got a couple of different answers, would like your opinion. I am currently using a small bedroom with clear plastic tubs stacked on top of each other, no shelving. I know that it would be better to get shelving. It would speed up my pulling, but I'm only pulling 1 to 5 a day. And I hope that will change, but right now I'm tight on funds and I'd rather not spend it on shelving. Would you recommend as soon as I can, like getting something inexpensive and then later upgrading, or would you recommend just waiting until I can get good, like permanent shelving?
It really depends. It depends on what you are capable of doing, how much of a pain it is. I'll be honest, shelves is a luxury. We don't need shelves. We can stack bins for the rest of our life. I stacked bins probably 6, 7 years, maybe 8 years of my life. I never got shelves. I always just had bins stacked, and then I went to the rack system, which I currently have. If you have free cash flow and you can afford the luxury of shelves, go for it. Maybe you can find some cheap on OfferUp or local or pre-owned. I always keep a lookout on bulk day, and people are always throwing away shelves on bulk day. And I cannot tell you how many totes, how many shelves I have gotten for free. I don't think I've ever bought a shelf. I've always got them for free. And there's a shelf, I don't know what the name of them are, but we call them needle shelves. And I told this story before, is Jeff Needle is on the lawn route, and I told the lawn guys to look out for some shelves, and Jeff Needle was throwing away 10 of them. So they grabbed me 10 of them the same day. And ever since that, they became needle shelves, and they would call me and go, hey, we found some needle shelves. And I would tell them to just bring them. I'll take them. And these are needle shelves. These ones here. Jeff Needle was throwing out a bunch of those, and we picked them all up. And every single time we saw them on the route, I would get a phone call to pick up more needle shelves. So if you're trying to buy those are everywhere. You never have to purchase those. You just got to keep an eye out. But yeah, it's up to you.
I got some for $10 that are in a shed that are those plastic ones. And so yeah, I've been looking at garage sales and things like that. So, and my tubs mostly came from Goodwill, so they vary in size and but I figured that's better than spending a ton of money that I don't have.
Absolutely. And you know, you upgrade your stuff when you can. You deal with it when you can't, and that's life. So you do the best of what you have today until you can, you know, learn how to do better or afford a luxury. So if you could do it, I would do it for as long as possible until you absolutely cannot do it anymore.
Okay,
And
thank you.
At that point, go ahead and do it. But that's my perspective. I am, you know, on the extreme of doing what you can until you absolutely cannot do it anymore. A lot of people are not as extreme as I am on that. So you just got to find your point where you do have the free cash flow, maybe throw $10 a week, $20 a week into a shelf fund. And then when you're able to afford the shelves, able to afford that luxury, go for it. What else do I want to say? Oh yeah, somebody in the chat posted, is the diagram exercise only for people with warehouses or large spaces, or can they do a diagram of their room? You most absolutely can do a diagram of your room. Most people who did the exercise in the 100K call are working out of a room, so they had a diagram of that. Those were just the first ones that I thought of and pulled up. So if you have a room that you're working out of, let's talk about it. Let's see it tomorrow. Anyone can draw the diagram. There was a lady, Liz. She has a space that's 31 square feet, and she did her diagram. She sells jewelry, and she could store some astronomical amount of jewelry in her 31 square foot space. So absolutely, anybody and everybody is welcome to draw the space, and tomorrow we will go over it. So someone somewhere, a couple of people, have your space done so we could talk about it. All right, that's it for today. Appreciate everybody. I'll say this one last thing, and I was going to use this as a whole topic, but if you made it this far, maybe. In my 15 years of selling on eBay, this past weekend after Thanksgiving is when everybody falls off and becomes unsuccessful in their reselling business. So if you are going to fall off, this past weekend was that weekend. So I plead with you, I beg of you to get back on the horse today and get your business back working today. Because I cannot tell you how many people just disappeared right after Thanksgiving. I don't want anybody in here to be one of those people. If you want to have a good Q4, the remainder of Q4, whatever comes of Q4, you have to get back on it today. For me, my busiest time of year, December, January, February, March, April. Those are my busiest months. You have to get on it today. We got to get back on the horse. I cannot tell you the amount of people that disappear right after Thanksgiving. So if you fell off, get back on it. Today's a new day. All right. Adios. Looks like a lot of people